So we are going to talk about scale and proportion. And the definition for scale is really straightforward. It's how big is it? In this case, it's really big. As is a theme across most of these lectures, it's less the definition and more what does that mean in terms of how we interact with the object. In this case, what can we tell about the culture that produced these objects based simply on how massive and huge they are? One, it has to be a highly organized society. Two, it has to be a very wealthy society, because even if you aren't paying the workers, there's debate as to whether or not this was made with slave labor or not. You still have to feed the workers, or they have a nasty habit of not working. And so we have a society of abundance, a society that is producing enough that we can continue to feed workers even when they're working on something that isn't growing food. And we can tell that it is a very advanced society because they could figure out the engineering of getting all this done. Now, we also have the good fortune of knowing more about these, and that actually starts to explain the size, because these are literally out of human scale. They were built for the pharaohs, and the pharaohs, as living gods, are deliberately creating tombs for themselves that are so massive that they remind us mere mortals of how puny and insignificant they are. So we can see the way in which scale here is intended. It is something that is part of what is being communicated. What is being communicated with this giant erection out in the sand is that I am a tiny little nothing, and he, the pharaoh, is a god. We're working on literally a galactic scale, in the sense that the spacing between the three pyramids mimics the spacing of the three stars that make up what we call Orion's belt. They are essentially sort of claiming their divinity. We know that they are divine because they're the pharaoh, and if the rest of the gods didn't want them to be the pharaoh, then they wouldn't be pharaoh. So clearly they have the divine right of kings and can build these huge things. So sometimes scale creates something that's so big it overwhelms. It fills my peripheral vision. I can see it from space. It makes me feel insignificant and tiny, just like I should. Sometimes we go the other direction with space when we create a deliberately tiny, intimate work. In this particular case, this is a book of hours. We're opened to the pages of the book of hours that contrast the life of Christ on the recto side, on the verso side on the left, and then the life of Mary on the recto side on the right. What we have then is the Annunciation scene and the arrest of Christ, both of which are scenes from the Bible, but this isn't a Bible itself. The purpose of a book of hours is that it's supposed to be a small object of personal devotion. I can carry it around, and when I need to say the certain prayers at the certain times, I can look them up. I'll usually have a calendar in the front where major religious feast days, St. Patrick's Day, St. Valentine's Day, All Saints' Day, which is the one that comes after what we call All Hallows' Eve or Halloween, are all going to be marked on the calendar, usually in red, hence the phrase red letter day. What we're going to have inside are specific prayers, and then instead of writing out the entirety of the gospel by hand, they'll write glosses on it. So we'll have, in this case, the highlights of Jesus's passion and Mary's life as well. We often are going to see this particular phrase or page highlighted because it also includes a portrait of the person for whom it was made, which is the Queen of France. And we can see her down here reading her own little Bible, just like a good girl. And this correspondence between her looking in a book of hours and Mary holding a book of hours is deliberate. We're essentially trying to tell any young woman who is looking at this that you should be a good little girl and read your Bible, in case God calls upon you to perform some service. In this case, Mary is performing the service of bearing Christ, and the Queen of France becomes the Queen of France so that she can make more queens of France, or really, actually, what they want are more kings of France. Stupid patriarchy. What is most especially interesting about this as an object is its scale. It is tiny. Each page is only 2¼ inches wide, so even open it's a 4½ incher, which means it fits in the palm of your hand, which actually makes perfect sense for an object of personal devotion. But then they go one step more, and they give us all this incredibly intricate, tiny detail, such that you really have to stick your nose in the book. And in a weird sort of way, it also is going to fill your complete vision. It's as if you are separating yourself from everything else because you get so engrossed in the book. You are immersed. In a way, it's overwhelming you in a manner that is very similar to what's happening with the Great Pyramids, where we're trying to take you out of worldly space and put you into a divine space. In this case, we're doing it through really intimate scale as opposed to really large scale.